November 24th, 1971 is a night carved into the American psyche, a night when the sky itself became a stage for an audacious crime. A Boeing 727 Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 slices through a stormy Pacific Northwest sky, its engines roaring against the howl of wind and rain. Inside, the cabin is a cocoon of dim light and rising dread, where passengers huddle under blankets, their eyes darting to a man in a dark suit seated in row 18. He calls himself Dan Cooper, his voice calm, his demeanor chillingly composed as he holds a bomb in his briefcase, the fate of 36 souls in his hands. With a ransom of $200,000 and 4 parachutes secured, he orders the plane to circle Seattle. Then, in a moment that defies belief, he steps to the rear air stair, opens it to the roaring void, and leaps into the night, vanishing into the wilderness below. The storm swallows him whole, leaving no trace, only a legend that burns like a flare in the darkness. Who was D.B. Cooper? Genius? Desperado? Or ghost? The skies keep their secrets, but the mystery endures. This is Shadow of Crime, where we chase the shadows that haunt, the stories that grip the soul, the truths hidden in the cracks of history. Tonight, we board a doomed flight to the enigma of D.B. Cooper, the only unsolved hijacking in American history, a case that has taunted the FBI, captivated a nation, and left us staring into the abyss of the unknown. Light a candle against the storm. Lock your doors against the night. The skies are calling, and their voice is cold. Welcome to the Shadow of Crime. Part 1. 1971, the Golden Age of Flight. In 1971, America stood at a crossroads, its spirit caught between the fading optimism of the 1960s and the gritty realities of a new decade. The Vietnam War dragged on, its images of napalm and protests flickering on TV screens in suburban living rooms. Nixon's voice crackled through radios, promising law and order, while Woodstock's echoes gave way to the raw pulse of Led Zeppelin and Marvin Gaye. Yet, amid this turmoil, air travel held a romantic allure, a symbol of progress and adventure. Airports were gateways to the world, their terminals filled with the clatter of typewriters, the scent of jet fuel, and the glamour of stewardesses in pillbox hats. Security was an afterthought, no metal detectors, no ID checks, just a ticket and a dream. The skies open to anyone with the fare. Portland, Oregon, was a sleepy hub in this aviation golden age, its airport a modest sprawl of low-slung buildings and rain-slicked tarmacs. On November 24, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, the city was cloaked in a damp chill, its streets quiet as families prepared for turkey dinners and football games. Portland International Airport buzzed with holiday travelers, their suitcases stuffed with gifts, their voices mingling with the hum of propellers and the crackle of gate announcements. Northwest Orient Airlines, a regional carrier with a reputation for reliability, operated Flight 305, a 30-minute hop to Seattle, a routine shuttle for businessmen, students, and families. The Boeing 727-100, a sleek tri-engine jet, was a workhorse of the era, its rear air stair a quirky feature that allowed passengers to board from the tarmac, a design that would soon become infamous. The Pacific Northwest itself was a character in this story, its landscape a tapestry of rugged beauty and untamed wilderness. The Cascade Range, with its snow-draped peaks and dense forests, loomed over the region, its valleys carved by rivers like the Columbia, whose muddy banks held secrets of their own. Storms were common in late November, their winds howling through firs and cedars, their rains turning trails to muck. The area between Portland and Seattle, known as the Aerial Triangle, was a labyrinth of ridges, ravines, and lakes, a place where a man could disappear or be lost forever. For travelers on Flight 305, the view from the 727's oval windows was a blur of clouds and treetops, a reminder of the wildness below, a world indifferent to human ambition. Into this scene stepped a man who would become a legend. At Portland's ticket counter, he purchased a one-way fare to Seattle, paying $20 in cash, his name recorded as Dan Cooper. He was unremarkable, a middle-aged white man in a dark suit, his face obscured by sunglasses, his briefcase a prop of corporate anonymity. He blended into the crowd, his footsteps lost in the shuffle of holiday chaos, his intentions hidden behind a polite smile. As Flight 305 prepared to board, the rain drummed on the tarmac, the sky darkened, and Portland, with its cozy diners and neon signs, stood poised to witness a crime that would echo through history, a moment when the skies turned treacherous. And a man named Cooper stepped into immortality. Part 2. Dan Cooper, Portrait of a Phantom. The man who boarded Flight 305 as Dan Cooper was a cipher, a figure whose anonymity fueled his legend. Described by witnesses as in his mid-40s, he was neither tall nor short, neither striking nor plain, a man designed to fade into a crowd. His dark suit, crisp white shirt, and skinny black tie were the uniform of 1971's corporate America, his J.C. Penney loafers polished but unremarkable. Behind clip-on sunglasses, his eyes were sharp, his gaze steady, betraying a mind that was anything but ordinary. His hair, dark and neatly combed, showed a hint of gray, his face clean-shaven, his voice low and measured, with no discernible accent. He carried a slim briefcase, its contents a mystery, and a paper sack, its purpose unknown. To the ticket agent, he was just another passenger, his $20 fare a routine transaction in a busy day. Once aboard, Cooper settled into seat 18E, a window seat in the rear of the 727 sparsely filled cabin. The plane carried 36 passengers, a light load for the holiday eve, their chatter a mix of excitement and fatigue. Cooper ordered a bourbon and soda from stewardess Florence Schaffner, his demeanor polite, his tip generous, his conversation minimal. He lit a Raleigh cigarette, the smoke curling in the cabin's dim light, a common habit in an era when ashtrays lined armrests. To Schaffner, he was unmemorable, a businessman lost in thought, his briefcase on his lap, his eyes occasionally drifting to the storm beyond the window. Yet, beneath this facade lay a plan so audacious it bordered on madness, a plan that required precision, nerve, and a willingness to gamble with fate. Who was Dan Cooper? The FBI, in their decades-long hunt, pieced together a profile that was both vivid and vague. He was likely educated, his knowledge of the 727's air stare and Seattle's geography suggesting a background in aviation or engineering. His calm under pressure hinted at military training, perhaps a paratrooper from World War II or Korea, his age aligning with veterans of those conflicts. His choice of a bomb, wires and red sticks, possibly dynamite, suggested technical skill, though its authenticity was never confirmed. His demand for parachutes and $200,000, a sum equivalent to $1.5 million today, spoke of ambition, but his motives, greed, desperation, or thrill, remained elusive. Was he a loner, a family man, or a drifter? Did he act alone, or was a team waiting in the woods? For the passengers and crew, Cooper was a paradox, a polite hijacker, his manners disarming, his threat lethal. He spoke softly, his instructions clear, his tone devoid of panic or malice. He allowed passengers to move, offered them drinks, even cracked a wry joke about the FBI's inevitable pursuit. Yet, his briefcase, with its alleged bomb, was a constant reminder of his power, its wires a spiderweb of danger. As Flight 305 climbed into the storm, Cooper sat alone, his silhouette framed by lightning, his identity a shadow that would haunt America. The man who called himself Dan Cooper was no one and everyone, a ghost who stepped onto a plane and into legend, his true name lost to the winds that carried him away. Part 3. Flight 305, a cabin under siege. Northwest Orient Flight 305 took off from Portland at 2:50 p.m. on November 24, 1971, its wheels lifting into a sky heavy with rain and thunder. The Boeing 727, with its 36 passengers and 6 crew, was a cozy enclave, its cabin warmed by the hum of engines and the clink of drink carts. Stewardesses Florence Schaffner and Tina Mucklow, in their navy skirts and white blouses, moved through the aisle, their smiles practiced, their voices soothing. The passengers, a mix of businessmen, families, and students, settled in for the short hop to Seattle, their thoughts on holiday plans, their eyes on magazines, or the storm beyond the windows. The plane climbed to 10,000 feet, its path a routine arc over the lush, rugged landscape of the Pacific Northwest, its destination a mere 30 minutes away. In seat 18E, Dan Cooper sat quietly, his bourbon untouched, his cigarette smoldering. Around 3 p.m., as Schaffner passed his row, he leaned forward, his voice low, and handed her a note. Thinking it a flirtation, common from male passengers, she slipped it into her pocket, but Cooper's eyes held hers, insistent. "Miss, you'd better read that," he said, his tone calm but firm. Schaffner unfolded the paper, her pulse quickening as she read the typed words. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit beside me." Her heart pounded, but she obeyed, sliding into the seat beside him, her training kicking in. Cooper opened his briefcase, revealing a tangle of wires, red sticks, and a battery, a device that looked deadly, whether real or not. "Do exactly as I say," he whispered, "and no one gets hurt." Cooper's demands were precise. $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills for parachutes, 2 chest packs, 2 backpacks, and a refueled plane ready to fly at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. He wanted the money and parachutes delivered to the plane, the passengers released, and no police interference. Schaffner, her face pale but composed, relayed the message to the cockpit, where Captain William Scott, a veteran pilot, felt a chill run through him. The crew radioed Seattle, their voices steady despite the terror, and Northwest Orient's executives scrambled, their offices a hive of panic as they contacted the FBI. The plane, low on fuel, began circling Seattle, its path a holding pattern in the storm, its cabin a pressure cooker of fear. The passengers, unaware at first, sensed the shift, Schaffner's hurried whispers, Mucklow's forced smile, the plane's endless loops. Cooper remained calm, his sunglasses glinting under the cabin lights, his briefcase open on his lap. He allowed Schaffner to move, instructing her to tell passengers the plane was delayed by mechanical issues, a lie that held for hours. Some noticed his solitude, his intense focus, but none suspected the truth. Mucklow, assigned to stay near him, sat in 18D, her hands trembling as she took his orders, her eyes searching his face for a hint of mercy. The storm raged outside, lightning illuminating the cascades below, a wilderness that would soon become Cooper's escape or his grave. Flight 305, with its dim lights and nervous hum, was no longer a routine flight but a stage for a drama that would grip the world, its passengers unwitting players in a heist that defied imagination. Part 4. The Ransom, a Game of Nerves. As Flight 305 circled Seattle, the ground below erupted into chaos, a ballet of law enforcement and corporate desperation. The FBI, alerted by Northwest Orient, descended on Seattle-Tacoma Airport, their trench coats flapping in the rain, their radios crackling with urgency. Special Agent Ralph Himmelsbach, a former pilot with a steely gaze, took charge, his mind racing as he weighed the hijackers' demands against the lives on board. The airline, eager to avoid disaster, agreed to pay the $200,000, their executives pulling cash from Seattle banks, the bills hastily photographed to record serial numbers. The parachutes, 2 military chest rigs, 2 civilian backpacks, were sourced from a local skydiving school, their nylon straps a grim reminder of Cooper's audacious plan. Cooper's instructions, relayed through Tina Mucklow, were meticulous. The money was to be unmarked, the bills random, the delivery made by a single agent in plain clothes. The parachutes were to be functional, no tricks, no tracking devices. He wanted the plane refueled, its rear stair lowered, and a flight path to Mexico City via Reno, at low altitude, 10,000 feet, flaps down, landing gear extended, to slow the 727 to a crawl. His knowledge of the plane's mechanics stunned the crew, his demands suggesting a mind honed by study or experience. Captain Scott, in the cockpit, plotted the route, his hands steady on the controls, his voice calm as he reassured his crew, though his heart pounded with the weight of 42 lives. On the ground, the FBI debated strategy, their options limited by the bomb's threat. A sniper shot was ruled out. The plane's windows were small. The storm obscured visibility. A raid during refueling risked detonation, a standoff risked escalation. Himmelsbach, chain-smoking in the terminal, opted for compliance, his gut telling him Cooper was no amateur. By 5 p.m., the money and parachutes were ready, stuffed into a canvas bank bag, delivered to the plane by a lone agent who approached the lowered air stair, his hands raised, his breath visible in the cold. Cooper, watching from a window, nodded to Mucklow, who retrieved the bag, her steps slow under its weight, her eyes avoiding the hijacker's gaze. Inside the cabin, Cooper inspected the hull, his fingers rifling through the cash, his eyes scanning the parachutes. Satisfied, he released the passengers, their faces pale as they shuffled off, unaware of the bomb until FBI agents swarmed them in the terminal. The crew, Scott, Mucklow, Schaffner, and 2 others, remained, their lives now Cooper's leverage. He ordered the plane sealed, the air stair raised, and the flight prepared. The storm intensified, its winds buffeting the 727, its lightning a strobe in the darkening sky. Seattle's lights twinkled below, a city holding its breath as Flight 305 became a pawn in a high-stakes game. Its hijacker a shadow whose next move would defy the odds. His escape a leap into legend. Part 5. Seattle, the ground game. Seattle-Tacoma Airport, on the evening of November 24, 1971, was a fortress of tension, its runways slick with rain, its terminal a hive of FBI agents, state troopers, and airline officials. The city, nestled between Puget Sound and the Cascades, was a gritty port town in 1971, its skyline modest, its streets alive with the counterculture of coffeehouses and rock clubs. But tonight, all eyes were on Seattle-Tacoma, where a Northwest Orient 727 sat on the tarmac, its engines idling, its fate tied to a man with a bomb. The FBI's command post, a makeshift office in the terminal, was a chaos of ringing phones, cigarette smoke, and maps pinned with possible flight paths. Agent Himmelsbach, his jaw set, coordinated with Northwest Orient's president, Donald Nyrop, their voices sharp as they navigated a crisis that threatened to spiral. The ground operation was a delicate dance. The $200,000, sourced from Seattle banks, was a logistical feat, the bills counted under floodlights, their serials logged by harried clerks. The parachutes, rushed from a skydiving club in Issaquah, arrived in a battered van, their owner unaware of their purpose until agents flashed badges. Himmelsbach's team debated sabotage, dummy chutes, marked bills, but Cooper's insistence on functional gear and unmarked cash forced compliance. The delivery, made at 5:24 p.m., was a moment frozen in time. A lone agent, rain-soaked and unarmed, approached the plane's lowered air stair, the bank bag heavy in his hands, the storm's roar drowning out his footsteps. Mucklow, pale and trembling, took the bag, her eyes meeting the agent's for a fleeting second, a silent plea in her gaze. As passengers disembarked, their relief was palpable, their stories spilling to agents in the terminal. A businessman recalled Cooper's sunglasses, a mother noted his calm voice, but none saw the bomb, their memories a blur of fear and confusion. The FBI interviewed each, their notepads filling with details, their hope pinned on a slip that might reveal Cooper's identity. Meanwhile, the media caught wind, their vans clogging SeaTac access roads, their flashbulbs popping as reporters shouted questions. A typo in an early report, D.B. Cooper, instead of Dan, cemented the legend, the name sticking like a brand. Himmelsbach, dodging cameras, focused on the plane, his mind racing with scenarios. Would Cooper detonate, flee, or vanish? The refueling, delayed by the storm, was a nerve-wracking ordeal. Fuel trucks, escorted by SWAT, approached cautiously, their drivers unaware of the bomb. Cooper, monitoring from the cabin, grew impatient, his voice sharp as he urged Mucklow to hurry the crew. By 7:40 p.m., the plane was ready, its tanks full, its air stair raised. The FBI, tracking from the ground, deployed chase planes, Air Force F-100 and SIXS, and a National Guard helicopter, their pilots briefed to follow but not engage. Seattle watched, its radios tuned to breaking news, its residents glued to TVs as Flight 305 prepared to lift off, its hijacker a phantom whose next act would redefine crime, his shadow stretching over a city that would never forget. Part 6. The Leap into Darkness. At 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 roared into the Seattle sky, its engines straining against the storm, its cabin a crucible of fear and defiance. Dan Cooper, now alone with the crew, sat in the rear, his briefcase open, his parachutes and money bag at his feet. The plane, per his orders, flew at 10,000 feet, its flaps at 15 degrees, its speed a sluggish 100 knots, its rear air stair lowered, creating a deafening roar as wind and rain rushed in. Captain Scott, in the cockpit, fought the turbulence, his instruments glowing in the dark, his voice steady as he relayed updates to Seattle. Tina Mucklow, tasked with staying near Cooper, watched him tie the money bag to his waist, his movements deliberate, his face unreadable behind sunglasses. The crew, strapped into jump seats, felt the plane shudder, their hearts pounding as they braced for the unknown. Cooper's plan was unfolding with chilling precision. He instructed Mucklow to join the crew in the cockpit, his voice calm but firm. "Stay there, close the curtain, don't come back." She obeyed, her steps unsteady, her eyes lingering on the man who held their lives. Alone in the cabin, Cooper donned a back parachute, its straps tied over his suit, the money bag secured like a lifeline. He moved to the air stair, a narrow ramp jutting into the void, its edge slick with rain. The plane was over the aerial triangle, a rugged swath of forest between Seattle and Portland, its terrain a maze of firs, rivers, and cliffs. The storm raged, its winds gusting to 50 knots, its clouds a black curtain hiding the ground below. At approximately 8:13 p.m., a pressure bump jolted the plane, a subtle shift the crew noted, a sign the air stair had been used. Cooper was gone, his leap a gamble with fate. The wilderness he entered was merciless. The Cascades, blanketed in snow, were a labyrinth of ridges and ravines, their temperatures plunging below freezing, their trails impassable in the storm. Cooper's parachute, a civilian model, was ill-suited for such conditions, his suit and loafers no match for the cold. Did he know the terrain, or was his jump a desperate act? The money, weighing 21 pounds, would hinder his descent, the storm's winds threatening to slam him into trees or cliffs. The FBI later calculated his jump zone, near Lake Merwin, a remote area of logging roads and creeks, but the variables were endless: wind drift, parachute failure, injury, or death on impact. For the crew, the pressure bump was a release, a sign their ordeal might end. Scott landed in Reno at 10:15 p.m., the plane swarmed by FBI agents, their flashlights sweeping the empty cabin. The air stair was down, the money and 2 parachutes gone, Cooper's seat empty save for a clip tie and cigarette butts. The crew, shaken but unharmed, recounted their hours with the hijacker, their voices trembling as they described his calm, his bomb, his leap. Flight 305, with its torn curtain and rain-soaked seats, was no longer a plane but a crime scene, its journey a descent into legend, its hijacker a shadow who had vanished into the night, leaving only questions in his wake. Part 7. The Hunt, a Wilderness Search. The moment Flight 305 landed in Reno, the FBI launched one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history, their target a man who had vanished into a storm-soaked wilderness. Agent Ralph Himmelsbach, chain-smoking in the Reno terminal, coordinated with the Bureau's Seattle office, their maps marked with Cooper's likely jump zone, a 20-square-mile patch near Lake Merwin, Washington. The area, part of the aerial triangle, was a nightmare for searchers. Dense forests of Douglas fir and cedar, steep ravines, swollen creeks, and snowdrifts that hid trails and clues. The storm, with its 50-knot winds and near-zero visibility, grounded helicopters and slowed ground teams, its fury a shield for Cooper's escape, or a tomb for his body. By dawn on November 25, 1971, the search was in full swing. FBI agents, joined by Army troops, National Guardsmen, and local volunteers, fanned out across the Cascades, their boots sinking in mud, their flashlights piercing the fog. They scoured logging roads, abandoned cabins, and riverbanks, their eyes scanning for a parachute, a money bag, or a body. Air Force planes, equipped with infrared, circled overhead, their pilots battling turbulence, their scans yielding only treetops and shadows. Divers plunged into Lake Merwin and the Lewis River, their lights dim in the murky depths, their hands groping for anything: a briefcase, a shoe, a clue. The searchers, bundled in rain gear, shouted Cooper's name, their voices lost in the wind, their hope fading with each empty trail. The FBI's profile of Cooper shaped the hunt. His aviation knowledge suggested he might have planned a landing site, a clearing, a road, an accomplice's vehicle. His demand for parachutes hinted at survival skills, perhaps a paratrooper's training. But the terrain was unforgiving, its cold lethal to a man in a suit, its isolation a barrier to escape. Agents interviewed loggers, hunters, and farmers, their questions met with shrugs or wild tales of a stranger seen in the woods. Tips flooded in, sightings in Tacoma, a man with cash in Reno, but none panned out, each lead a mirage in the case's fog. The media, camped at Seattle, Tacoma, fueled the frenzy, their headlines: "Skyjacker vanishes," turning Cooper into a folk hero, a Robin Hood of the skies. For weeks, the search continued, its scope shrinking as winter tightened its grip. The FBI found no parachute, No body, no money, only a landscape that mocked their efforts. Himmelsbach, haunted by the case, flew over the jump zone, his eyes tracing ridges where Cooper might lie, his mind wrestling with the hijacker's fate. Did he survive, limping to a hideout, his cash a ticket to a new life? Or did he perish, his body tangled in a tree, his bones scattered by wolves? The Cascades kept their secrets, their silence a challenge to the FBI, their vastness a testament to Cooper's audacity. The hunt, with its muddy boots and fading hope, was a battle against nature and time, a quest for a phantom who had outwitted the law, his leap of taunt that echoed through the wilderness. Part 8. The Money on the River. For nearly a decade, the D.B. Cooper case lay dormant, its file a thick stack of dead ends in the FBI's Seattle office. The manhunt had yielded nothing, the Cascades' secrets unyielding, the hijacker's fate a mystery that faded into legend. Then, on February 10, 1980, a flicker of hope emerged, a clue that reignited the case and deepened its enigma. Brian Ingram, an 8-year-old boy camping with his family on the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington, was digging in the sand when he unearthed a bundle of rotting $20 bills, their edges frayed, their serial numbers faded but legible. His father, recognizing the find, contacted the FBI, who confirmed the bills, $5,800 worth, matched those given to Cooper, their numbers a direct link to the 1971 heist. The discovery was a bombshell, a tangible piece of a case that had seemed untouchable. The bills, found at Tinnabar, a remote stretch of riverbank 20 miles from Cooper's jump zone, were waterlogged and brittle, their condition suggesting years of exposure. FBI agents swarmed the site, their shovels turning up sand and driftwood, their metal detectors humming, but no more money, no parachute, no body emerged. The find raised more questions than answers. How did the bills reach Tinnabar? Did Cooper lose them in his jump, the bag torn open, the cash scattered by wind or water? Or did he survive, stashing the money only for it to wash away in a flood? Hydrologists studied the Columbia's currents, their models suggesting the bills could have drifted from upstream, perhaps near Lake Merwin, but the science was inconclusive, the river a silent witness. The Ingram find electrified the public, reigniting Cooper mania. Newspapers splashed the story, TV crews flocked to Tinnabar, and amateur sleuths descended on the river, their shovels sparking dreams of buried treasure. The FBI, under pressure, reopened the case, their agents combing the jump zone again, their divers probing the Columbia's depths. They tested the bills for fingerprints, fibers, or DNA, but the elements had erased all but the serials, the money a clue without context. Himmelsbach, now graying, saw the find as proof Cooper had perished, the cash lost in his fatal descent, but others disagreed, citing the bills' condition as evidence of human handling, perhaps a failed attempt to launder or hide them. For the Ingram family, the find was a mixed blessing. Brian, hailed as a hero, kept a few bills as souvenirs, their value dwarfed by their fame. The FBI retained most, their vault a graveyard for the case's relics. The Tinnabar discovery became a cornerstone of the Cooper legend, a proof that the hijacker's shadow lingered, his money a message from the past. It fueled theories of survival, of accomplices, of a mastermind who slipped away, but offered no closure, its meaning as elusive as Cooper himself. The Columbia, with its muddy banks and restless currents, held the key, but its secrets remained locked, a challenge to those who chased the phantom of Flight 305. Part 9. Suspects, a parade of phantoms. The D.B. Cooper case spawned a rogues gallery of suspects, each one a potential key to the mystery, each one a dead end in the FBI's labyrinth. Over decades, the Bureau investigated over 1,000 individuals, their profiles ranging from plausible to absurd, their stories a mix of confession, coincidence, and conjecture. The hijacker's anonymity, his generic appearance, his lack of fingerprints, his vanished trail, made him a blank slate, a figure onto which anyone could project a motive or a face. The FBI's criteria were strict: a man in his 40s, with aviation knowledge, parachute experience, and a connection to the Northwest. But the net was wide, the clues too few, the truth always out of reach. Richard Floyd McCoy, a Utah man arrested for a 1972 hijacking with eerie similarities, was an early favorite. A Vietnam vet and skydiver, McCoy demanded $500,000 in parachutes, leaping from a 727 over Provo, only to be caught days later, his cash recovered. His age, skills, and calm demeanor matched Cooper's, but McCoy denied the 1971 heist, and his alibi family Thanksgiving plans held firm. The FBI, skeptical, noted differences in their methods, but McCoy's death in a 1974 shootout ended the lead, his shadow lingering in the case's lore. Kenneth Christensen, a Northwest Orient employee and former paratrooper, emerged in 2003, his brother citing his aviation expertise, mysterious wealth, and deathbed hits. But Christensen's build, short and slight, clashed with Cooper's description, his link circumstantial, his name another ghost. Dwayne Weber, a career criminal, confessed on his 1995 deathbed, whispering, "I'm Dan Cooper," to his wife. His widow recalled his nightmares, a knee injury from a jump, and a Northwest ticket stub, but no hard evidence tied him to the crime, his story a tantalizing dead end. Other suspects: Robert Rackstraw, a pilot with a rap sheet; Ted Braden, a special forces jumper; even a woman, Barbara Dayton, claiming a trans identity ruse, piled up, their tales fueling books and documentaries, their proof always lacking. The FBI chased each, their agents knocking on doors, digging through records, testing DNA from Cooper's tie, but the results were inconclusive, the hijacker's identity a mirage. For the public, the suspects were a fascination, each one a chapter in Cooper's myth. Amateur sleuths pored over photos, compared timelines, and debated in smoky diners, their theories turning Cooper into a folk hero, a rebel against the system, a genius who outsmarted the law. For the FBI, the parade was a frustration, a reminder of their failure, each suspect a shadow that slipped away. Himmelsbach, retired but obsessed, believed Cooper was a loner, his jump a solo act, his fate sealed in the Cascades. The suspects, with their alibis and secrets, were a mirror to America's obsession, a proof that D.B. Cooper was more than a man. He was a legend, his identity a puzzle that refused to be solved. Part 10. Theories and Speculation. The D.B. Cooper case is a kaleidoscope of theories, each one a lens into a crime that defies resolution, each a spark in the darkness of his mystery. Without a body, a parachute, or a confession, the hijacker's fate has become a canvas for speculation, its possibilities woven into American folklore. The FBI's investigation, exhaustive but fruitless, left gaps that amateurs, journalists, and dreamers filled with narratives of survival, betrayal, and tragedy. The case's allure lies in its ambiguity, a man who outwitted the system, only to vanish, his story a riddle that challenges our need for closure. Theory 1. Survival and escape. The most romantic notion holds that Cooper survived his jump, landing in the Cascades with the $200,000, slipping into a new life. Proponents cite his aviation knowledge, suggesting a planned landing site, a meadow, a road, an accomplice's truck. The Tinnabar money, they argue, was a decoy, buried to mislead the FBI. While Cooper fled to Canada or Mexico, his cash laundered through casinos or offshore accounts. But the jump's conditions, freezing temperatures, 50-knot winds, a civilian parachute, make survival unlikely, the wilderness a graveyard for the unprepared. Theory 2. Death in the jump. The FBI's favorite theory posits that Cooper perished, his body lost in the Cascades, snow, or rivers. The storm's fury, combined with his inadequate gear, a suit, loafers, no helmet, suggests a fatal descent, his parachute snagged in trees, his body dashed on rocks. The Tinnabar bills, found far from the jump zone, support this, their condition hinting at a crash that tore the money bag, scattering cash to the Columbia. Yet, no remains or gear were found, the wilderness's vastness a challenge to this grim conclusion. Theory 3. Accomplice network. Some speculate Cooper had help, a ground crew waiting in the woods, a pilot to whisk him away, a forger to craft a new identity. His precise demands and calm demeanor suggest a team, perhaps ex-military or criminal, their plan honed in secret. The parachutes, plural, hint at an accomplice on board or below, but no evidence of others emerged. The FBI sweeps finding no tracks, no hideouts, only silence. This theory thrives on Cooper's mystique, his heist too bold for a lone wolf, but it falters without proof. Theory 4. Hoax or misadventure. A fringe idea suggests Cooper was an amateur, his heist a desperate act that spiraled into chaos. His bomb might have been fake, his jump unplanned, his demands a bluff that trapped him in a storm he couldn't survive. The Tinnabar money, intact but small, supports this. A botched escape, the cash lost in panic. Yet, his knowledge of the 727 and Seattle's terrain argues against impulsivity, his calm a mark of intent. Each theory is a thread in Cooper's tapestry, a story that reflects the teller's hopes or fears. For the FBI, they were a challenge, each lead a drain on resources, each dead and a blow to their pride. For the public, they were a thrill, a chance to play detective, to imagine a man who beat the odds. The Cascades, with their silent peaks and hidden valleys, hold the truth, but they do not speak. Their shadows a canvas for a mystery that endures, a legend that refuses to fade. Part 11. The Legacy in 2025. In 2025, the D.B. Cooper case remains a cultural touchstone, its mystery as potent as it was in 1971. The Pacific Northwest, with its misty forests and rugged peaks, has grown. Portland and Seattle now tech hubs, their skylines gleaming, but Cooper's shadow lingers, his name a synonym for the impossible. The FBI, which closed the case in 2016, citing dwindling leads, keeps the file active in spirit, its agents fielding tips from a new generation. The Columbia River's Tinnabar, a pilgrimage site for sleuths, is marked by a weathered sign, its sand combed by treasure hunters, its banks a silent witness to the heist's only clue. The case, though cold, lives in pop culture, its story retold in films, songs, and podcasts, each one a tribute to a man who defied the law and vanished. The Northwest communities carry Cooper's legacy in varied ways. In Ariel, Washington, near the Jump Zone, the annual D.B. Cooper Days Festival draws thousands, its bars serving Hijacker shots, its stages hosting parachute contests. Locals, from loggers to techies, share tales of grandfathers who searched in '71, their stories blending fact and myth. Seattle's Museum of Pop Culture displays Cooper artifacts, a tie clip, a ticket stub, their glass case a shrine to the heist. The FBI Seattle office, modernized but haunted, fields calls from sleuths claiming DNA breakthroughs or hidden stashes, their enthusiasm a spark in a case gone quiet. The case's relics endure. The Tinnabar bills, split between the FBI and Brian Ingram, are collector's items, their value soaring at auctions. Cooper's tie, left on seat 18E, was tested for DNA in 2001. Its results inconclusive but tantalizing. Its fibers a link to a ghost. Advances in technology, geographic profiling, satellite imagery, prompt periodic searches, but the Cascades wilderness resists, its secrets buried in snow or silt. In 2023, a hiker's claim of parachute fabric near Lake Merwin sparked a dig, but it yielded only nylon scraps, another false lead in a case of mirages. For the crew of Flight 305, the heist was a scar. Tina Mucklow, Florence Schaffner, and Captain Scott, now elderly or deceased, spoke rarely of Cooper, their memories a mix of fear and awe. Ralph Himmelsbach, who died in 1987, saw the case as his white whale, his memoirs a lament for the one that got away. The public, from Reddit sleuths to Barstool theorists, keeps Cooper alive, their debates over suspects and survival a ritual of fascination. The Cascades, with their silent peaks, remain a monument to his mystery, their trails a challenge to those who seek him. D.B. Cooper, whether hero or fool, is a flame that burns in America's memory, a proof that some shadows never fade. Part 12. The Eternal Enigma. The vanishing of D.B. Cooper is more than a heist. It is a myth, a mirror, a challenge to a world that craves answers. Dan Cooper, with his dark suit and cool nerve, is not just a name in an FBI file. He is a symbol, a reflection of our fascination with rebellion, our fear of the unknown, our hope for the impossible. His leap from Flight 305 into a storm that swallowed him whole is a wound that never healed, a puzzle that has defied half a century of searching, a shadow that stretches across the Cascades to touch every heart that hears his tale. What happened that night? Did Cooper survive? Is parachute guiding him to a clearing? Is money a ticket to a new life in a distant land? Did he outwit the FBI, sipping bourbon in a Mexican cantina, his sunglasses hiding a sly smile? Or did he perish, his body broken on a cliff, his cash scattered by wind, his bones lost to the wilderness? Was the Tinnabar money a clue to his escape, a deliberate plant to taunt the law, or a remnant of his failure? washed ashore by a river's whim? Was he a genius, his heist a masterstroke of planning? Or a desperate man, his jump a fatal miscalculation? The questions are endless, each one a thorn in the mind, each answer a phantom that slips away. For the FBI, Cooper's enigma was a humbling defeat, a case that exposed their limits, their nets too wide, their prey too clever. Agents like Himmelspach carried him to their graves, their dreams haunted by a man in sunglasses, his briefcase a Pandora's box. For the crew, he was a specter, a polite monster whose bomb held them captive, their survival a miracle overshadowed by his myth. For America, he was a paradox, a criminal who inspired awe, a rebel who defied the system, a ghost who lived in bars, books, and ballots. The Cascades, with their snow and silence, are his monument, their vastness a testament to his audacity, their secrets a call to those who chase him still. The case raises questions that transcend its details. What drives a man to risk everything, to leap into darkness with no guarantee of dawn? How does a nation grapple with a mystery that resists closure, a hero who might be a villain? How do we honor the unknown, the vanished, the shadows that linger? Cooper challenges our assumptions about crime, about courage, about the power of anonymity to shape a legend. He asks us to look deeper, to question the skies, to listen to the whispers of those who fly and fall. Will the truth ever surface? Perhaps a hiker will stumble on a parachute, its nylon tangled in a tree, or a diver will find a money bag in the Columbia's silt. Perhaps a deathbed confession will name him, or a DNA match will trace his tie to a forgotten grave. Or perhaps D.B. Cooper will remain an enigma, his fate sealed in the storm, his story a flame that burns in the Northwest heart. He is not gone. He is the flicker in Seattle's lights, the whisper in the pines, the weight in every heart that gazes at the sky. D.B. Cooper is the heartbeat of a mystery that refuses to rest, a legacy that endures, a shadow that will not fade. The Cascades stand silent under a starlit sky, their peaks cloaked in snow, their valleys hiding secrets that refuse to yield. The Boeing 727 is gone, its airstare a memory, but the echo of D.B. Cooper lingers, his leap of flare that burns through time. His shadow dances in the storm, his money whispers on the river, his name a riddle that haunts the night. Was he a mastermind, a fool, or a ghost who walked among us? The skies keep their counsel, but we listen, our hearts tuned to the mystery of a man who vanished. You've flown these dark skies with shadow of crime, where every story is a puzzle, every truth a chase. If Cooper's enigma has seized your soul, if his shadow haunts your dreams, don't turn away. Subscribe to our channel to join us in hunting new mysteries, where the lost find a voice in the wind. Drop a like if his story gripped you, if it left you staring into the storm. Leave a comment. Share your theories, tell us what chilled you, or name the cases you want us to unravel next. Hit that bell, for in the wilderness, every clue counts. Share this tale with those brave enough to face the unknown, to seek the truth beneath the clouds. Shadow of Crime is more than a podcast. It's a vow to honor the vanished, to confront the shadows, to chase the light no matter how faint. Until we meet again, keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears sharp, and your courage ready for the stories that live in the shadow of crime.